Hi, I'm Josh, and today I'm going to answer the questions in the reading habits tag. Now, ideally, a tag is something I would have been tagged by another person who made a video about the reading habits tag and then tagged me to do the same thing. But I'm just a tiny little channel and I don't focus exclusively on books, so I'm not exactly known in the BookTube community. And listen, self-tagging is natural and healthy. So I'm going to tag myself in order to make this video for you. Now, I know I'm making a lot of videos about books, and I know a lot of you have subscribed to me due to my board game content, or perhaps some of the other topics I focus on. And I have been having some issues with board gaming in that the last time I played a board game with another adult was about 16 months ago at this point. So it's hard to keep making videos about a hobby that I have not been able to be involved with. Unfortunately, it's going to be a while before I can get back to that. I mean, the two major circumstances are just my living conditions right now in terms of my split from my wife, and then of course the whole pandemic thing. So once I can actually get myself established in another place to live and the vaccinations are out enough that we can start gathering together again and I can start hosting board game nights, maybe 6 months from now, maybe a year from now, I don't know. But I will get back to the board games. If you just stick with me, I'll get there eventually, and I'll find some other reasons to make videos about board games at some point too. In the meantime, I won't wait that whole time to talk about them again. But in the meantime, I'm really focusing on the books because that's what I've been doing. I've been reading. So let's dive into this one. Question 1 is, do you have a certain place at home for reading? There are two places where I do most of my reading. Number 1 is in my bed. After I go to bed at night, I'll do some reading. Now, that used to be kind of the only place I would ever do any reading, and it meant that it would take me months and months to read a single book because by the time I started reading through a few pages, I would get tired and I'd want to go to sleep. So I would only read a few at a time, and it would take me forever to get through a book. But at some point in the past year, when the weather started getting cold in particular, I discovered baths, and I started taking my books into the bathtub and getting a lot more reading done that way.
Wanted to make it all a part of me. I wanted to take it with me when I have to leave.
I would say over the past year that the majority of the reading I've been doing has been in my bathtub. So that tends to be where I do my reading. Question 2 is bookmark or random piece of paper. I use a bookmark, and it's one that I made myself years ago. I'll try to remember to take a photo or two of it to post with the video here, but it's just a couple of photos of my favorite band, or at least members of the band Rancid, and I just put them together and laminated it to make my own bookmark, and that's what I've been using for several years now. Question 3 is, can you just stop reading, or do you have to stop after a chapter or a certain amount of pages? I mean, I generally look for a natural break to put the book down. If it's the chapter end, that's kind of ideal. If they're particularly long chapters, then I might look for one of the breaks within the chapter itself, which you will usually see in books that have longer chapters. I won't typically just stop at a random paragraph, although I guess if I'm really tired or something comes up, I might have to put the book down quickly. But most of the times I try to get to the end of a chapter or a natural break in the writing. Question 4, do you eat or drink while reading? I typically don't, because I read actual physical books as opposed to ebooks or whatever, and so to read a book, to hold a book while I'm eating something is just very impractical. And often when I do most of my reading in the bathtub or in bed, I'm not eating or drinking at those times anyways. It's not that I'm opposed to having food or drink around my books. I mean, I could see sitting out on a patio with a book and a nice beverage. That sounds like something nice to me, but it's just typically not what I usually do. Question 5, multitasking, music or TV while reading? Never. I would not want to have the distraction of noise in the background while I'm trying to read a book. For one thing, I like my quiet time, my quiet spaces. I deal with pretty severe PTSD, so there's a lot of turmoil going on in my head in general. So quiet is nice. I don't need to have white noise in the background to feel comfortable. I would rather have no distractions and be able to focus on my book. Question 6. One book at a time or several at once? Definitely one at a time. I don't see how people can have multiple books on the go and keep track of everything that's going on. I mean, heck, I don't even break up series typically. If I start a trilogy, for instance, I want to read all 3 books of the trilogy back to back to back without inserting another book in between. So I don't even like to break up a series that I'm in, let alone try to read more than one book at once. That wouldn't really work for me, I don't think. Question 7, reading at home or everywhere? I mean, this is a bad question to ask during COVID because I don't go anywhere. So naturally, all my reading is going to happen at home. In the absence of a pandemic, I can definitely see instances where I might go to a cafe and sit at a table in a cafe and read a book. Back when I could still drink alcohol, before the Crohn's disease prevented me from doing that, I used to love sitting in a pub with a book and enjoying a pint or two. That used to be a really enjoyable experience. But I don't get to enjoy that anymore, so it's a cafe with a coffee maybe. When my kids were younger, I would take them down to a park and maybe bring my book along to read while they played on some playgrounds or something like that too. So yeah, I enjoy having a book out with me when I have time to sit and relax and read it. And certainly if I'm traveling anywhere, staying overnight, I'd like to have my book with me to read at bedtime, of course. Question 8, reading out loud or silently in your head? Definitely silently in my head. I'd never read out loud. Nor, as I said, do I even listen to books, so I don't have a narrator reading aloud to me. I like to just sit and read my own physical books. Question 9, do you read ahead or even skip pages? No, I don't skip pages. I was so irritated when my copy of Tigana, the 30th anniversary edition, was missing 4 pages that were just completely left out of the book. That irritated me, and I had to return the book and get a new one. So no, I don't skip ahead. I don't look ahead in the book and spoil things for myself. That seems absurd to me. Question 10, breaking the spine or keeping it like new? I don't know what breaking the spine of a book means. Like, I mean, I open the book enough to read it. I don't try to keep my book in mint condition by reading through a little crack or anything. So I definitely have it open. I'm not like really reefing on it to crack it open or anything. So yeah, I mean, I take care of my books, but I definitely don't need them to be unworn or in mint condition. If I had a paperback that was worn by my reading it, that is kind of a fun thing, I think, to have that history with a book. But at the same time, I'm not trying to destroy my book or anything. So, and the last question, number 11, do you write in your books? I do not write in my books, but I do put tabs in to mark memorable passages and whatnot, so that when I come back and make a video, I can then refer to all of these tabs and sort of organize them in a way that makes sense for a video format. So no, I can't imagine writing in books. I can't even really imagine highlighting in them, since I do use tabs. But that's it for the reading habits tag. Do you have any interesting quirks about your particular reading habits? Do let me know in the comments below. And I will say this, I don't say this often enough, but I am so grateful for all the subscribers that I do have. It means a lot to me that people would take the time to subscribe to my channel and follow my content. And I certainly don't take that for granted. Of course, I'm also very grateful to my Patreon supporters, especially to Joanna and Paul, my higher tier supporters. All the support you have to give to me, whether it's through subscribing, through Patreon, through just giving a thumb up, or taking the time to comment below and have a conversation with me, all of that just really means a ton to me. The fact that anybody would want to engage with me in my videos just is a special thing for me, and I appreciate it so much. The preceding video has been brought to you free of charge by me, Josh. The only thing I ask in return is that you either choose to, or if you would send the link for this video with someone who you think would enjoy it. So I'm going to tag myself and make this video and answer the questions. Unfortunately, that for the vast majority of my reading has been happening in bathtubs or in my bath with a nice beverage, but so I don't, during memorable